Kia ora BBY, I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Michael, I'm one of the pastors at Bethlehem Baptist Youth, and it is my privilege to get to share with you today. We're about to jump into the fourth part of our Marked Safe series. And when we say Marked Safe, what we're really saying is, how do we know that our eternity is secure? How do we know that we have life after death? How do we know that we're operating and living in the way that we've been made for? All of these answers are found in the person of Jesus. When we know who Jesus is, when we walk with Him, when we have our faith and trust and hope built in who Jesus is, that's when we know that we are marked safe. But what I want to talk today is about the hard stuff in life. What happens for us when things get really hard? How do we navigate that? How do we know what's going on? Well, in James chapter 1, it says this: to consider it all joy, my brothers, when you face trials of various kinds, because you know that the perseverance of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. I remember I was sitting outside Tauranga Hospital one day just before I got really sick, and I remember sitting there looking at Bailey going, man, today I'm going to have to consider this joy. I'm going to have to decide right now that no matter what happens when I go inside, no matter what trial I face, I'm going to consider this joy. But that's a really, really hard thing to do. It's something that we have to pre-decide to do. But something I'd like to mention in amongst that is whatever trial you're going through, I just love that the text says various kinds, trials of various kinds. No matter what you're going through, it's tough. It is really, really tough. I think sometimes we can overlook that, or we can undermine people's trials for whatever reason. James in the Bible acknowledges that the trials that we're going through, that they are hard, that they are cumbersome, that they do not go well with how we want to live, yet we find ourselves in them. But still the challenge is to consider them joy. And so how do we consider it joy when it could be the hardest thing we're going through in life? Well, firstly, I'd like to define joy. I think in our culture we get confused between what is joy and what is happiness. You see, by the definition of the Bible, happiness is something that is short term. It's something that happens in a moment. Maybe you found something funny. Maybe you watched a funny video, or one of your mates said something real crack up and you just loved it. That's happiness. But we know from experience that happiness can be taken from us in a moment. You could be having a great day and someone could say something horrible to you for no reason. Happiness is gone. You could be all good and then have something terrible for lunch. Your happiness is gone. You could be working really hard on something and someone could undermine what you've done. Happiness gone. When the Bible speaks of joy, it's talking about something that just can't be taken from us in a moment. It's talking about something that's long lasting, something that has depth, something that has grit, something that has hope built into it. That's what we speak of in joy. And so when we think of joy, ultimately we're thinking of the hope that is to come. So no matter what trial we face, no matter what struggle we're going through, we can have a posture of joy towards it because we know who Jesus is and we know what Jesus has done. Two quick things about joy that I'd like to mention. Firstly, that joy always looks forward to the future. Joy always thinks of hope. When we consider joy, we're always looking to Jesus. We're always reminding ourselves of what Jesus has done and what He says is going to happen. And we find our hope and our purpose and ultimately joy, knowing that no matter how bad that trial gets, there is a good life and a good God that loves and watches over us and promises us a better future. And the second thing that I'd like to mention is that joy sees the big picture. You know, sometimes when we go through trial, it can be a matter of perspective. You know, we can be looking at ourselves and looking at the issues that we get into and we can think, man, the world is over. But it doesn't take long for us to look around and see some of the issues in the world and remember just how blessed we truly are. And when we remember how blessed we are, we can be joyful that God is working in our midst right now. And so I want you guys this week to consider what joy is in your life. One final verse I'd like to say is in Hebrews chapter 12. The writer of Hebrews says this, that for the joy that was set before Him, He endured the cross. Jesus decided, because of the joy that was set before Him, because of the good things that were going to happen, that He would go to the cross. And I take heart in that because the good thing that was going to happen was us, you and me, the Christians who are watching this video, knowing who Jesus is. being saved, being made right with God. That is the joy that drove Jesus to die on the cross for our sins. To me, that gives me so much hope because it reminds me that I'm worth it. That no matter how much I've sinned, no matter how much I've strayed from who God is, Jesus came and he died so that I could be made right with God. Not something that I deserve, not something that I have earned in my own worth, but Jesus decided that it was good enough to die for. What an encouragement. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll see you next time. See ya.